Hello guys, how you doing? Henry here, back with another video. And in this video, I'm gonna be interviewing Sharai Zinyemba. She's an entrepreneur, been running her business, Apex Logistics, for the past 5 years. Basically, it's an export company, procurement and export company. And I'm gonna be interviewing her today, with regards to, how she made it as an entrepreneur, how she made it, what motivated and inspired her to start her own company. So right now, guys, I'm just in Cape Town. I'm in Camps Bay, just taking, just a break, just from Johannesburg itself. And we're out here chilling, man. Camps Bay on the Atlantic seaboard. Man, lovely place, man. Out here at the beach, people just, beginning to come out, just having a great time. And that's what we're doing today, man. So guys, man, my passion on this channel is to inspire you to reach your personal and career goals. And one of the ways we do this is by interviewing people who've managed to establish successful businesses and are running successful careers. So guys, let's get into the video. So yes, Sharai, thank you very much for taking your time.
Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, so tell us, tell us about yourself. Tell us about, Apex Procurement. What do you guys do?
So Apex Procurement obviously specializes in procurement of a wide range of products, from hardware to chemical inputs, commercial vehicles, the works. We operate mainly as sort of a boutique firm where we handle a limited number of clients, but they're obviously big enough to keep us busy. Like you said, we've been operating since 2015.
Oh, wow.
Up until now, and we're just growing from strength to strength and trying to expand part of our, and obviously go into the rest of our value chain, to include obviously the trucking bit, clearance and all of that. So that's our plan going forward, pretty much.
Oh, wow, man, that's amazing. So how did you get into this, man? So you basically are sort of procuring products here and exporting them into Southern Africa, Eastern Africa, and things like that.
Yeah, so mainly most of our products come from South Africa, the locally manufactured goods. We also have to source from China, and we also have products that we bring in from Botswana.
Oh wow, man, that's amazing. So what gave you that idea, man? That's so. Actually, what did you sort of study, in varsity and stuff like
so
that?
I studied economics and business management. At the time, I actually decided to study those two majors because they were the most challenging from the ones that I was offered. I didn't exactly have a plan. It's not like I've ever wanted to be a specific something. Like I haven't dreamt of, I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be this. Yeah. I've always been that person who just goes with,
with the flow.
With the flow, pretty much. So after studying economics, I moved back to Zim, and I worked in private banking and also in business development and software testing. Because of the Zim situation, I wasn't really enjoying my time in Zimbabwe. Okay. The economy is quite challenging to maneuver. So I decided to move back, and I moved back to South Africa. I didn't have a job at the time.
Okay.
So the first job I got was in Uber, the taxi company. So I was involved in training partners, training drivers, managing the system, helping with the Uber on demand, the promotional activities.
Okay.
And from there, I then went into consulting, which led me back into banking.
Okay.
So I've worked for quite a few banks in South Africa.
Which banks have you worked for?
I worked at ABSA. I also worked at the JSE.
Okay.
Bank ABC, although they didn't have representation they didn't have an actual bank in South Africa. We were dealing with Mozambique. Okay. And I was also at Standard Bank for some time. Okay. As a consulting business analyst.
Okay. All right.
So after that, so it's during my time there that I started doing the procurement part time. And even before that, My family is predominantly made up of entrepreneurs,
Okay.
from my mom right down to my youngest siblings.
Mm.
So when my mom started her business in events, and I was still here going to school,
Mm-hmm.
I assisted her with getting all the stuff she needed, material, decorative ornaments, tents, chairs, you name it.
Yeah.
So while I was consulting, my brother also his business had started growing. He's got a chain of butcheries in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
So he needed my assistance with procuring certain things, and that's sort of how I then got into it and got to a point where it became very busy to an extent where I then decided to leave my job and pursue procurement full time.
Wow. So, so how did that step look like though? Like, I mean,
it was
like,
that was one of the hardest decisions to make at the time, because you're so secure with your salary.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your bills, and you start thinking, what if things don't obviously work out, and I've left this great job, I'm on the upswing, and you're comfortable at the time.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I've always then just been that person who then says, you know what, let's take the risk, let's get it done. I like being in a situation where I'm challenged.
Okay.
So that was going to be my greatest challenge, to actually transition into my own business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at that time, things were getting busier because I was now getting more clients within our circle of, our circle of friends. And so when I realized that, okay, I'm sort of exceeding what I'm making from my actual job, let me just give this my full attention and really see it through.
Wow, man, that's an amazing story, right? I mean, but what lessons would you, or what advice would you give, like someone who was sort of, who's probably finding themselves at the situation where you were at? Maybe first of all, I think let's backtrack in terms of, you mentioned something about, being, like choosing courses at varsity, like not having, I can sort of identify with that. So I'm not like, I've always wanted to be this type of person.
Yeah.
And I think, many, young people also might be facing the same thing, people in career trying to figure themselves out, even someone trying to sort of identify a university course, So, and then, afterwards, 4 years is done, then now what? What sort of advice would you give, someone who might find themselves in that situation?
I think a lot of people find themselves in that situation, and my advice is to just go with your gut. Don't stress yourself too much about what you're going to study, because 99% of the time, if you speak to people that have made it in life, a lot of them didn't study what they're doing now. And somehow life just led them to where they are. They followed an instinct and they worked hard towards it. So for me, university, yes, it's good to have a degree, but it boils down to you as a person, your discipline, your drive, your desire to actually get from point A to point B. Yeah.
Wow. And in starting business, so if you were to start a business, like what things should you look out for? Like what sort of things do you make sure that you have in place? Let's say you're trying to transition from your job into your business. I know one thing you've mentioned is that obviously, you also looked at the income that was coming in.
Yes, that's very important. You cannot leave your job prematurely. I've seen people leave their jobs prematurely. They've got a great idea, but they haven't formulated it to a point where it can be ongoing on a month-to-month basis. So my advice is don't leave prematurely. Make sure that you've sort of, when it comes to money, people need to be able to trust you as a business, as a person. So you are a reflection of your business, especially when you start out, because you're a one-man show. You're the marketing person, you're the procurement person, you're the finance person. You need to be able to sort of assess your brand as a person, your personal brand.
Yes.
And because that projects onto your client, they can sense that, okay, no, this person is dodgy, or,
Yeah.
So you need to be able to be very professional and trustworthy. In South Africa, the economy works pretty well. Compared to where I'm coming from, I'm doing this in comparison to Zim. You need to make sure, more than anything else, that obviously you've structured the company, it's registered, so that when you're now doing business, even with suppliers, they'll check that are you registered, are you tax compliant, all of that stuff. So you make sure that all your registrations are in place. I think for me, to start out, I wasn't really looking to have staff for procurement, or I need a secretary or whatever. Because people rush into that, and then you
Yeah.
pile up bills in terms of salaries.
Yes,
I
yes.
basically ran with everything except the accounting side. So I have an accountant that I've worked with from day one. He knows the company inside out because we sit and we talk. Every month we recap. The same way you'd have meetings where you're working, you need to always make sure that you make that regular, especially with your accountant, to make sure he understands where you're going, what you need to do, what the tax implications are. But as far as everything else is concerned, my advice is you run with it yourself. You're going to market your company yourself. You're going to attend all the meetings yourself. If you're doing, for example, exports, I don't know how many times I've been to the border. You can't tell me anything about South African side. You can't tell me anything about Zim side. I know how it works.
Yeah.
So now I've gotten to a point where I've hired people and they do the work. But there's nothing that I don't know that they're doing.
So they can't like surprise you, right?
They
can't
surprise
say, oh,
me,
now we needed
and
to
I can
pay
always
this extra
see, yes,
thing,
exactly.
or it took long because there's this other process.
I
It's
know
sort
the
of like,
turnaround times. I know what something is supposed to, the documents are supposed to look like. I know how they're supposed to be processed. So you have to understand your business yourself, every last inch of it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to steer your ship if you don't know how to steer it. It's like getting a car. You buy a car, but you've never been to a driving lesson. It doesn't work. You have to know how to change the gears. You have to know how to apply the brakes. That's just how a business works.
Wow, man. I mean, that's key, right? Like understanding what exactly you want to get into. Well, sometimes things can look like good ideas. You know,
Yes.
especially they might look like good ideas to you. You know,
Yeah.
to say, I think maybe because I like this, maybe other people will like it. I think someone used to say that even when you're making, let's say content, for example, like you don't make things for yourself.
Exactly.
You know, make things for a market that's going to add value
Yes.
to other people.
Yeah.
Because I'm no, sorry to catch you
No,
here,
it's
but
okay.
I know like Aliko Dangote, right, the richest man in Africa, says that they don't get into business they don't understand.
Exactly.
So because people were asking him, because it took for a long time for him to get into actual oil and gas, you know,
Yes.
being in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So people were asking him, I mean, you guys have got so much money, you know, you've got billions. Why didn't you get into oil and gas earlier?
Exactly.
And he was saying that, you know, as long as I myself personally do not understand the value chain
Then it's pointless.
and what I'm doing, I'm not going to get into that business.
100%. You have to understand the business. And you know, sometimes you get into a business that you never thought you would get into. Like I never thought I'd be doing exports.
Yeah.
But all the experience working in the bank in Zim and working in the banks here, understanding the international trade laws, understanding international finance, how the banks work, acquittals with the Reserve Bank, I already had that background knowledge, because obviously the exporting, your border controls are everything.
Yeah.
You can have a great price, but if you mess up on that side, it affects you. You might not get your VAT return. Your client might have to pay higher import duties because you didn't do your due diligence and give them the appropriate documents. All of that, it all adds up to, you know, your service at the end of the day, service delivery.
Wow, man. I think that's one thing I was going to ask you, that in terms of, you know, your experience working. Well, sometimes, you know, and I remember, you know, I probably was one of those people, because you sort of have like, you know, you want to be a business person, you want to be an entrepreneur. They say like, I don't even want to work for anybody else, you know. But did that experience, you know, being employed, working for the banks, you know, you've already touched on some of that, you know, and how is it really like helping you now?
I think when I worked in Zim, you know, it was quite boring. Some of the roles I played at work were very, very just A plus B equals C, repetitive. But all that work experience helped me structure my business.
Okay.
You know, just even recons, ATM recons, just simple things like that. Client service with private banking, your highest earning clients, just knowing how to handle people that are at a senior level. Marketing, because I did some business development. I used to do mortgage sales, car loans, life insurance.
Yeah.
I did quite a bit as far as banking is concerned. So all of that kind of taught me how I needed to then move forward, and also just the relationships I created with my clients. Some of those clients that I had in banking are now my clients at Apex.
Oh, wow.
The biggest tool, the strongest tool you'll have as an entrepreneur is your networking ability.
Okay.
If you're not able to do that and gain the trust of your clients, and, you know, give them a professional service. But the main thing is trust. And that starts with creating a relationship with them.
Okay.
So I've kept my ties with most of my clients. I've kept my ties even with the people that I would work with at the bank I was working for. Because now, even sometimes when my client has an issue on the Zim side, I can still call in a favor from people that I used to work with.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. And how do you network, man? Some might be wondering right now, where do I even begin with this networking things? I don't know anybody,
The one thing I'll say is, don't go to someone and say, Ndipeo business. Sorry for those that don't understand. Just don't go to someone and say, hey, just give me some opportunities, People don't like that. It's a put off. And, you don't realize it until you're the person that people are saying that to.
Yeah.
Because you start thinking, okay, you want me to hand over my clients to you. No. You'd rather sit and have conversations with people where I use the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
I talk 20% of the time, you're going to talk 80% of the time.
Okay, so you
So I'm
listen.
a sponge. I'm literally just absorbing. And it's from those conversations and, just interactions that you start picking up on certain things.
Yes.
And that's how you then create those opportunities for yourself. Because someone could mention that they want to, I'm going to go into trucking, so I'm going to come next week and look for XYZ. And you say, oh, well, I happen to be in that business. I can get you at a good trailers at a good price. I can get you these sort of trucks. What are you looking for? You're already showing them that you know what they're looking for. You have the technical know-how because obviously I'm selling these things, so I have to understand what they're about.
Uh-huh.
And before you know it, he doesn't have to spend his money on a ticket to come here. He doesn't have to now look for people to transport his goods for him all the way across. He doesn't have to do the clearance. I literally provide that entire service, and he just has to pay his import duties, and I deliver straight to their warehouse or whatever. So, the networking bit is important. So I don't really go out much.
Uh-huh.
I don't have the time, but I'm thankful for the friends I have because they understand that, they can message me on Monday and I'll reply them on Friday. Because I can have 30 messages on my phone and literally it's all work and I don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do go out with clients or prospectives or people that I know are plugged into certain industries or areas where I need to get into, I will go out.
Okay, wow.
So, but ultimately your social life will suffer to a sizable extent. But that's how it is. It's all about sacrifice and discipline.
Okay, man, that's awesome. And I like what you say that when you're discussing with people, it's what people want is value.
Yes.
To know how is this going to help me.
Exactly.
And when you are getting into those relationships, when you hear someone saying that I need A, B, and C, to put what your value proposition is and how are you going to help them in terms
get
of
to that point.
Get to that point, and so that they can actually get what they want.
Because no one wants to. I mean, it's like me asking you to go to buy something from China where you've never been in. You don't understand the industry. You don't understand how it works there. You're not too clued up on customs and all of that. You'd rather pay a fee for someone else who knows how to do it that you trust to get it done.
No, that's true. Eh? And one thing I noticed, we were discussing the other time. So you employ people now. How big is your team?
So I know what you're getting at. My team is predominantly females.
How big is it?
The entire office is actually females. So I've got 5 females in the office that are obviously permanently there to do all the administrative, the procurement, the finance. And then I've got some casuals. There's one female, and then the others are male. But for me, the reason why I then also took females was because I'm trying to empower women. The girls, they've obviously got experience in their different areas that they're working in, but just trying to get them to push the boundaries and do more. So I wasn't only looking at your degree, I was also looking at just you as a person. Are you a go-getter? Are you willing to go the extra mile and get all the things done? Because a lot of the times if we're dealing with suppliers, 99% of the time we're sitting in a room full of males. And it's just me, or I've got one of the ladies with me. So it's just getting to that point where you know that this is not about gender.
Yeah.
This is about your ability to get things done.
Mm.
So I'm all for women empowerment, and that's my little bit that I sort of contribute by empowering those women. Because some of them, some of them don't come from procurement, some of them don't come from logistics, they'll come from industries where it's sort of balanced. But it's just putting them in the deep end and also helping them swim.
Yeah, that's really true in terms of procurement. It was like I saw you like one day, I think it was one of your posts, and I don't know, like you're sending like 3 or 4 trucks to the highway. I mean, that must be hectic, and I think it was even like late at night or whatever it is. Like obviously, these 30-ton trucks, they move. They don't move. Most of the time during the day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine, for the ladies, or I mean, it's quite, you need to be tough, right?
Yeah, you have to be. You can't look at it and think, oh, I need someone to go. I don't really, even traveling to the border, I usually travel on my own.
Oh, wow.
I don't.
So you probably like drive there.
Yes.
So that's how I mean, like 800K, I don't know.
No, it's
600?
about
500K.
Almost 600, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 5-hour drive, but you have to get to a point where you just put that aside and you get your things done. You obviously have to be careful, but this kind of business, you work around the clock.
Yeah.
Sunday to Sunday, I mean, you're on the ball, and that's what I was saying. Your social life suffers, but you have to have that discipline to see things through. You can't not show up. The trucks are ready to go. Even if it's 10 p.m., I'm there.
Yeah.
2 a.m., I'm there. Because I have to make sure that my client gets what he signed up for.
Yeah.
You have your deliverables, you have your time frames, you have to meet those timelines. And that's the bottom line.
Wow, man, that's cool, man. That's it, I guess. In business, as you're saying, if you say that this thing is coming at 12 p.m., it has to come.
It has to.
It has to come
Yeah.
at 12 p.m. It has to leave Joburg at 12 p.m.
Yeah.
Because that's your name, right?
You are accountable at the end of the day. And
yeah.
Some of the clients you deal with, they don't want to hear stories.
Yeah,
and I've gotten to a point where even in my office, I don't want to hear stories. If it's
true,
done
yeah.
it's supposed to be done on a Monday at 9:30, you're going to send it on a Monday at 9:30. If you're late, you do it from home and then you come into the office.
Yeah.
It has to be done in a certain way, and you have to keep a tight ship, because if you don't, that's when you start losing it and your clients become disgruntled, and before you know it, you don't have a client base anymore. So it's very important.
So that's the thing. I think that's the thing with business, right? People, it's like you can't be entitled, which is something which is
Which
always
is something a lot
amazing.
of the big companies get wrong. And that's where us small companies then thrive, because now we make sure we've got our small pool of clients, we make sure they're happy. We make it our business to know their families,
Wow.
we know their pets, because some of them we have to buy things for the pets, but we make it our business to understand our client so they feel comfortable and they feel safe. I mean, if I know your entire family and they know us, and we've done procurement outside of what we normally do, but it's for the chief executive's son or whatever. It adds up, because then they're more inclined to stick to you or be stuck with you.
Yeah,
because the service is so good and they can't get it anywhere else. So that's what we try to do.
Yeah, I mean, because people do business with people, right? At the end of the day, people
100%,
do business with people. Yeah. So just in closing, what do you have like any advice you can give to someone who's sort of trying to figure out whether they should start a business? Maybe someone has been retrenched during this lockdown period and things like this. What advice would you have to them? What does it take to get into business and entrepreneurship?
I think, like I said earlier, the networking aspect is everything. And you said, remember, you were talking about how someone can try and get into something because they like it, but not necessarily because there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to understand what you're getting into. It might not be the best thing you've always wanted to do, but because it's an opportunity and you've seen how lucrative it can be and how sustainable it can be, that's when you get into it. But that all starts with networking. You have to learn from the people around you, and that also means your circle has to change.
Yeah.
You have to be in a position where these things come to you. You have people that are around you that have already made it or are getting there, and have the ability to assist you to get to a certain point. So I think that's very important. The discipline is very, very important. You can't spend more time out having drinks when you should be doing your reports. Even if it's not a report for someone else, you're self-employed, but you're doing it for yourself so you can have an overall view of your business. you know, and nothing is too small to start up with. You lose nothing from doing the small orders or whatever it is that you're doing. Even if you have 2 or 3 clients, treat them like they are your everything.
Yeah.
And that's how your name grows. So
Yeah.
I think it's just, discipline, networking, just keep your head down and do everything on your own. Do everything on your own, except things like accounting where I wouldn't know how to do e-filing, but someone is there to do it for me. But just start slowly, start bit by bit. People want to get to point 100 instead of taking the baby steps from point 1.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people get it wrong and they crash and burn. You have to start, even if it's that one client, you have to start from there. And your work will speak for itself. And before you know it, you'll grow and, obviously success year on year.
Awesome stuff, man. Because I mean, it's I think for me, like business, it's like when you start, it's like you're having a baby, right?
Yes.
I mean, they're gonna be at night. You're not gonna be sleeping.
Exactly. And the thing is, people think, you're so lucky. You get to work for yourself. You can wake up whatever time. But there comes a point where, because your business is growing, and maybe you won't have anticipated a certain growth spur at a specific period of time, you sort of become a slave to your company. You're more accountable to it than it is to you.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of catch up. And then obviously then set up based on forecasting and all of that this is the direction we're going. But you really have to be disciplined. If you're going to you have to be in the office 9 o'clock, you have to be in the 8 o'clock, you have to be in the office.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's anything happening, you have to discipline yourself to actually just still behave like you're working for someone.
Yeah.
Because you're accountable to yourself, you're accountable to your company. It's a separate entity. You're looking after that baby. If you don't nurture the baby, it's not going to grow.
It's not going to grow, right?
Yeah.
And then I think there are no opportunities to make so many mistakes.
Yeah.
When you're working, working for yourself.
You have to be on it.
Because if you're working for someone else, I mean, it's they are giving you that leverage to make mistake. I mean, they are paying for your mistakes.
Yes.
So when you make a mistake, when you slack, when you take that day off, they are paying for it. I think one thing, I remember when I was like, I still not really much so feel that way, but I think, sometimes like public holidays, you're like, oh no, like this is another, this is like taking away from my opportunity, to become productive.
Yeah.
It's sort of like switches. When I was working for someone else, I was so excited about public holidays.
Now it's like, oh no, my staff is not going to be in on Monday. What am I going to do,
Yeah.
And when you become an entrepreneur, there's nothing like holidays.
There are no holidays.
Last year I was working until, I think the day before Christmas, I was still working. The day after, my trucks were still at the border. So you don't really have a holiday. I went to Bali twice. I had to cut the trip short twice.
Wow.
Because I had to come back. There was a lot going on, and yeah. But those are the sacrifices you make. But I said to myself, I'm going to get to a point where my business runs itself. Yes, I'll still be obviously present, but I need to get to a point where now I can actually dial it back a bit and sort of balance things out. But for now, it's you keep your head down and you keep it moving.
Awesome stuff, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, year 5, man, we look forward to hearing what year 10
big things coming.
Yeah, big things coming,
Yeah.
like year 10 is gonna look like, man. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for
coming
having
through.
me.
Guys, man, thank you for taking your time, just to listen in terms of, what's happening out there, what it takes, to be an entrepreneur, how to discover opportunities, and also the importance of working for someone else. If you are working right now, it's not the end of the world, man. Your time will come, the opportunity. Sometimes, when everything is coming together, the opportunities will present themselves. 100%. But you need to absolutely, just be the best, like wherever you are. So guys, man, thank you, as I said, for watching this video. If you got any value from this, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next video. Cheers, man.